far beyond the familiar stars of the Milky Way. Nestled deep within the mysterious and vast Andromeda cluster, a faint distress signal wove its way through the endless dark. It was broken, fractured, and full of static, but Earth's advanced. Deep space monitoring stations caught it nonetheless, a desperate cry for help that sent a ripple through the halls of power back home. The signal came from a colony on a distant, hostile planet no one on Earth had dared to explore fully before. This was no ordinary outpost. It was a place surrounded by dangers that even the most seasoned explorers whispered about in hushed tones. The planet's environment was brutal, thick jungles where unseen creatures lurked. Storms that could tear metal apart, and toxic air that had made breathing a constant struggle for the colonists. But the true threat was something far more terrifying. The colony's message was raw with panic. It spoke of an alien menace unlike anything humanity had faced. The creatures attacking the settlement were swift, intelligent, and terrifyingly adaptive. Weapons designed for war seemed useless. Defensive systems failed without warning. The aliens didn't just fight back. They evolved to counter every human strategy almost as quickly as it was used. The transmissions were patchy and desperate, a warning that time was running out. The survivors begged for help, their voices cracked with fear, begging for rescue that might never come. Earth's leaders gathered in emergency meetings, their faces grim as they pored over the data and watched the signal's weakening patterns. Experts from every field were called in: military strategists, xenobiologists, survival specialists, but all agreed on one thing. This threat was beyond the reach of conventional forces. The usual fleets of ships, soldiers, and robots would be swallowed whole by this alien force. It was clear that a new kind of response was needed. A group forged not just in training but in survival against the deadliest conditions imaginable. The decision was unanimous, but heavy. Earth would send its most dangerous warriors, the legendary Deathworlders. These were humans raised on planets so deadly that survival demanded more than strength. It demanded a primal, almost ruthless will to live. Their bodies and minds had been hardened through years of facing poisonous atmospheres, monstrous predators, and environments that crushed ordinary humans. They were Earth's ultimate survivors, feared and respected even within their own ranks. These Deathworlders were not just fighters. They were legends born from struggle, battle, and the endless fight against nature's most extreme conditions. Yet sending them to the unknown was a risk even the Council understood deeply. The planet's hostile nature could kill even the Deathworlders, if the alien enemy proved as unstoppable as it seemed. Still, hope rested on their shoulders. As the Deathworlders were assembled, stories of their past feats echoed through the halls of Earth's military bases. One had survived a jungle infested with venomous creatures that could dissolve flesh. Another had battled rogue AI on a toxic radioactive wasteland and lived to tell the tale. Each carried scars and secrets, their faces hardened but their eyes burning with fierce determination. None saw this mission as just another rescue. It was a chance to prove humanity's strength in the face of a universe that often seemed hostile and uncaring. The news of Earth sending the Deathworlders sparked a mix of fear and pride among the people. Some wondered if this meant the end for the colony. Others believed it was a sign that humanity refused to surrender to the unknown. Meanwhile, the alien threat continued to grow silently in the dark, its presence felt but not fully understood. The SOS was more than a cry, it was a warning. And as Earth prepared to send its deadliest warriors into the void, no one knew if they were stepping into a battle that could save humanity, or be the final chapter in a war none were ready for. The moment Earth's leaders decided that only the Deathworlders could answer the SOS from the distant colony, a wave of urgency swept through the military command centers. These warriors were unlike any other humans. They were forged in the harshest conditions imaginable, raised on planets where the very air could kill, where every step outside a shelter meant facing predators capable of tearing flesh in an instant, and where survival demanded not only strength, but also sharp minds and quick instincts. The Deathworlders were the last line of defense, the ultimate proof of human resilience and will. Earth's elite council gathered to select a team carefully, chosen not just for combat skill, but for experience surviving environments that would crush ordinary soldiers. The selection process was intense and secretive, drawing from a wide range of specialists who had thrived on worlds so dangerous they were known as death worlds. One candidate had grown up on a planet with violent electrical storms that could strike without warning, forcing her to develop lightning-fast reflexes and the ability to move without sound or light. Another was a silent hunter from a world where giant, camouflaged predators stalked the shadows, honing his skills in tracking and ambushing enemies with deadly precision. There was a bioengineer among them, a man who had modified his own body to resist toxic gases and deadly viruses, his lungs reinforced to breathe poisons most humans could never survive. Each member carried stories that sounded like legends tales of near-impossible escapes, fights against monsters larger than any machine, and harsh lessons learned in worlds where failure meant instant death. Assembling this team was not just about strength. It was about finding people who could think on their feet, adapt instantly, and push beyond human limits. The Deathworlders were brought together in a high-security facility where they underwent final preparations. Their gear was customized, blending cutting-edge technology with survival tools tailored for the unknown. Their minds were sharpened through simulations that mimicked the alien environment reported by the colony. Yet beneath the confidence lay a deep awareness of the risks. None of them had faced this particular enemy before, and the planet itself was a mystery. They knew failure was not an option. The colony's survival depended on them, and if they failed, it would mean extinction. For thousands of innocent lives, the weight of that responsibility pressed down on them silently, driving them to train harder, think faster, and trust in each other despite being strangers. The team's leader was a woman known as Commander Ray, whose calm authority in battle experience commanded respect. She had survived a decade in a jungle where the ground itself moved and tried to swallow her alive. Her leadership was not just about orders, but about inspiring confidence in a group destined for the deadliest mission of their lives. Under her guidance, the Deathworlders shared their fears, their doubts, and their hopes, forming a bond stronger than steel. As they prepared to leave Earth's safety for the unknown dangers beyond, tension filled the air each of them, wondering what horrors awaited and whether their combined skills would be enough. The Council watched closely, knowing that sending these warriors was Earth's boldest gamble yet. Every moment before launch was filled with silent prayers and calculated plans, as humanity pinned its hope on those who had already conquered. Death in worlds where survival was a daily battle, the Deathworlders were ready to face the impossible, but deep down, they all understood this mission would push them to limits they had never imagined and beyond. It was not just a rescue, it was a fight for the future of a distant colony and perhaps for humanity itself. When the Deathworlders finally descended onto the colony's planet, the scene that greeted them was far worse than anyone had imagined. The once hopeful settlement was reduced to ruins scattered across the toxic landscape, with buildings torn apart and smoke curling into the heavy, greenish sky. The alien menace they had come to fight was nothing like any enemy recorded in Earth's history or military archives. These creatures were biomechanical, horror-spart, living organism. Part machine-ed, they moved with a terrifying intelligence that made every encounter deadly and unpredictable. Their bodies shifted and changed to counter the weapons fired at them, their metallic limbs becoming harder or softer, depending on the attack, and their organic parts healing quickly from wounds that would have killed any ordinary animal. The Deathworlders quickly learned that brute force would not be enough. Here, every fight was a challenge of wit and endurance. The planet itself was a living enemy. Shifting landscapes swallowed up paths that had been safe moments before, forcing the team to move constantly and adapt with every step. Poisonous storms swept across the open plains with blinding speed, turning the air into a toxic haze that threatened even the hardened lungs of the Deathworlders. The flora was unlike anything Earth had, seen plants that released deadly spores or snapped shut like traps, hiding within thick jungles that felt more like mazes. Every moment outside the fortified zones was a gamble between life and death. Yet amidst this chaos, the Deathworlders began their mission with unshakable focus. They hunted the invaders relentlessly, using their honed survival skills to track and outsmart creatures that would have overwhelmed ordinary soldiers. They protected the scattered survivors of the colony, those who had managed to hide or escape, and slowly started rebuilding defenses. Each small victory came with a cost: wounds, fatigue, and the constant weight of knowing the enemy was always watching, always learning. As they pushed deeper into the planet's wild zones, strange clues began to emerge. Remnants of alien technology scattered across the landscape suggested that this attack was not just a raid or a random assault. It was part of a larger, more terrifying plan. Data recovered from downed enemy machines hinted at a coordinated invasion. Force moving through the galaxy, with this colony only the first target in a chain of planets to be conquered. The Deathworlders realized their mission was no longer simply about rescue. It was about stopping an unstoppable tide that could threaten Earth and countless other worlds. This revelation added a new weight to their fight. Every moment became a battle not just for survival, but for the future of humanity and the stars. Despite the horrors, the team pushed on, using every skill and tactic they had learned from their brutal pasts. They adapted to the shifting terrain, learned to anticipate the alien creatures' changes, and grew more united in their purpose. The colony's remaining settlers, inspired by the Deathworlders' relentless courage, began to rise from despair, ready to fight back alongside their rescuers. But the planet's dangers were far from over. The team faced betrayals from the environment itself, unstable ground collapsing beneath them, toxic air pockets threatening to suffocate, and nightfall bringing new predators that hunted in the dark. Every step was a test of their resolve, pushing them to the edge physically and mentally. The deeper they ventured, the clearer it became that the battle here was just the beginning of something much larger and more dangerous than anyone had guessed. As the Deathworlders prepared for the next phase of their mission, a fierce determination burned in their hearts. They would not let this planet fall, nor would they allow the shadow of this alien invasion to reach Earth. The fate of the colony was now tied to a fight that could change the course of humanity forever. After weeks of relentless battle and harsh conditions, the Deathworlders began to change the course of the war on the alien-infested planet, slowly turning despair into hope. Their approach was unlike anything the colonists had seen. Raw human ingenuity mixed with the unique skills shaped by years of surviving Deathworlds. They crafted traps that took advantage of the alien creatures' patterns using natural materials from the planet, combined with scavenged technology to create lethal snares and explosives. The Deathworlders studied the invaders carefully, noticing subtle weaknesses that no previous human had identified. Small gaps in their armor, delays in their adaptive defenses, and predictable hunting behaviors became the tools for the team's growing success. They moved with a precision and speed that shocked both the colonists and the aliens, striking hard before disappearing into the dangerous terrain. As these victories accumulated, the Deathworlders reached out to the scattered survivors, rallying them into a fierce and organized resistance. These colonists, once broken and afraid, were inspired by the fearless warriors' relentless will to fight. They began to reclaim their homes, rebuild defenses, and strike back with a new hope kindled by the Deathworlders' courage. Yet beneath the surface of this rising tide of battle, tension simmered among the team members. The constant pressure, the horrors they faced, and the memories of their own dark pasts began to weigh heavily on some of them. For many, this was more than a fight against an alien enemy. It was a battle against their own fears and doubts. Commander Ray, usually a pillar of strength, found herself struggling to hold together not only the mission, but also the fragile unity of the team. Some warriors wrestled with guilt from past losses, while others questioned if sheer human willpower could truly overcome a foe that seemed almost invincible. These moments of vulnerability were hidden beneath stoic faces and determined actions, but they added a layer of complexity to the fight. The internal struggles made the Deathworlders more human, their strengths intertwined with flaws that reminded everyone that even legends could falter. Despite this, the team's bond grew stronger. They learned to lean on each other, turning personal fears into shared resolve. Together, they adapted their strategies, blending brute force with careful planning. Using the planet's dangerous environment as an ally rather than an enemy, they lured the alien creatures into traps, ambushes, and deadly confrontations designed to exploit their limited ability to adapt quickly to complex threats. The Deathworlders' successes became a message that echoed across the battered colony. Humanity would not be defeated so easily. The alien invaders, once confident in their overwhelming power, began to falter under the new pressure. Their attacks grew more cautious, their numbers thinning as the Deathworlders' tactics dismantled their forces piece by piece. Yet the fight was far from over. Every victory revealed how smart and dangerous the enemy truly was, forcing the Deathworlders to innovate constantly and face new horrors lurking in the shadows. The planet itself seemed to resist the tide turning as storms grew fiercer and strange new predators appeared to challenge the humans' hold on the land. In the darkest moments when hope seemed fragile and the weight of endless conflict threatened to break them, the Deathworlders reminded themselves why they were chosen. They were the ultimate survivors, shaped by planets that had taken everything and left only strength behind. This mission was not just about saving a colony, it was about proving that humanity's spirit could shine brightest in the blackest night. And so, with every trap set, every enemy defeated, and every colonist inspired, the Deathworlders pushed forward, knowing the tide was turning. Their fight was becoming more than a battle for survival. It was a declaration that humanity, even at its most vulnerable, would rise and resist any darkness that threatened to consume it. As the last of the alien threat on the distant colony's planet fell to the relentless efforts of the Deathworlders, the team sent a final, urgent message back to Eartha, warning cloaked in grim truth and hard-earned hope. The SOS signal that had once echoed across the stars was only the beginning of a far greater and darker conflict looming in the depths of space. From the remains of the alien technology scattered across the battlefield, the Deathworlders uncovered signs that these invaders were but the advance wave of a massive galaxy-wide invasion force moving steadily toward Earth and beyond. There, weapons and machines hinted at an enemy far more numerous, more organized, and more dangerous than anyone on Earth had dared imagine. Despite the heavy cost and countless sacrifices, the Deathworlders' brutal victory against this first wave was a beacon of hope, a testament to human resilience and fierce determination. Yet, it was also a chilling reminder of the challenges still to come, a warning that the fight for survival was only beginning. As the message reached Earth, it ignited a wave of urgency and action. Governments, scientists, and military leaders put aside old differences and united in preparation for the war that was now unavoidable. Earth began to strengthen its defenses, drawing inspiration from the Deathworlders themselves, the fierce warriors who had stared death in the face and refused to back down. New training programs were established to spread the Deathworlders' survival skills and tactics among broader forces, while research into alien technology uncovered on the planet fueled rapid advancements in weaponry and defense systems. Cities that once seemed safe now braced for potential attacks, and colonies across human space were warned to prepare for possible invasion. Meanwhile, the Deathworlders, their mission on the colony complete but their war far from over, prepared to set out once more into the vast unknown. The planet they had saved was a grim reminder of the galaxy's dangers, and the team knew they might never see Earth again. Their lives, shaped by survival on Deathworlds and tempered by unyielding willpower, made them the perfect fighters to face what was coming. As they boarded their ships, ready to move beyond this battle, toward whatever awaited in the shadowed corners of space. Each warrior carried with them the weight of countless lives depending on their courage and skill. They were humanity's shield and spear on the deadliest frontiers, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, human spirit and determination could stand tall against any threat. The story closed on a note of fierce hope and grim resolve. Deathworlders would fight, not just to save a distant colony, but to protect all of humanity from a shadow that threatened to engulf the stars. Their journey was far from over. It was just the beginning of a new chapter in a war that would test every limit and demand every ounce of strength Earth's most dangerous warriors could give.